permissionless blockchain network, and this session will be looking into permission blockchain, that is like enterprise blockchain networking. So especially we'll be looking into the Hyperledger Fabric and its components, how we'll run one application, one sample application. So when this first network started and people started looking into it and saw so much potentiality about the blockchain, and then the open source community started developing their own softwares like open source projects they own they used to start. So when they started, right, open source forking and started doing their own projects. So there are two types of blockchain networks they created, and we can be classified into two types. One is like cryptocurrency projects, another one is enterprise projects. So if you take cryptocurrencies like a Bitcoin, Litecoin, and so on and so on, so extra etc are examples for a cryptocurrency networks. And enterprise, so Hyperledger is one community, and R3 is another community, which is developed some frameworks for enterprise applications. So when we talk about enterprise applications, there are few requirements. Every enterprise application will have a few requirements. So these are the list of requirements. That is a speed, scalability, latency, and privacy, restricted access. So these few things like these requirements cannot be achieved using permissionless network. So speed is something when you click on click button, you cannot wait for a long time to that click function to be executed and response to happen to navigate to the next page or something. And scalability is something like we in enterprise applications we need to be the application should be scale according to the requirements. So as soon if you have more number of users adding to your network, your application users are increasing, and you should be your application should be able to function very smoothly without any bottlenecks. So latency is something so if you perform some actions, so it's kind of actually time interval. So when you click something, when you submit some transaction, and actual record that happening on a database side, right, in between the duration, it's called a latency. So for example, if railway tracking systems, if you take railway tracking system, if you are trying to update some timing on the railway tracking, and if you click after a few seconds or after 1 minute or 2 minutes, if you are going to update the database, okay, and the duration of updation, it takes time. So it's going to be like a huge a disaster in time. So other two things are privacy and restricted access. These are more important when we talk about enterprise applications. Every enterprise application expected to have the privacy and restricted access to their applications, such as if you are talking about Paytm application. Uh, so you will be expected to fill the KYC process, so that Paytm knows that who is their customer, and they can get to know that one. So other thing is restricted access. This is also very important for enterprise applications. So these are minimum. There are primary requirements, and every enterprise application needed. So these requirements may not be achieved using permissionless networks. That is like Ethereum and all, Litecoin, Ethereum. Those networks, it will not be achieved these requirements. So I will talk about few use cases where we can apply enterprise blockchain. Uh, so we'll get into one use case in detail. These are some examples. So healthcare sector, education and trainings, and supply chain management. Supply chain management is a very potential one where with a combination of IoT, we can have a very good applications in using the blockchain. Okay, and another one is government credentials, identity management, and shipping airline sector, energy resources. So I have picked up few random industries, but you can apply almost all most of the industries private permission means permission blockchain. Okay, and the only thing is you have to decide whether you really need a blockchain to be applied to that particular application, because it is going to be very costly one. um, so we'll be get to know why it is costly. Okay, so we'll go through this healthcare sector one use case in detail, and we'll see how enterprise blockchain can change existing market, existing applications, how it will be transformed. So if you talk about drug counterfeit, okay, problem. So there, if you see in the market, you might be seeing like there are different kinds of people drugs which will be like a fake drugs, okay, and there are different ways drug counterfeit can happen. Okay, one is like a factory manufacturing counterfeit. So someone can set up their own factory, and they can unauthorized factory, and they can manufacture drugs and change the slight names here and there, and release into the market. So this is one way of drug counterfeit that we have, existing one. And another one is drugs under different names. Like if you have good brand, okay, and they'll be changing, almost logo will be similar, here and there small characters will be changed, and they will be selling those drugs. Okay, um, another one is like a through contract manufacturing, and if you are giving to someone who is to manufacture the drugs, right, they can mix up with some original one and fake drugs. Okay, this is another way this the counterfeit can happen. Uh, and the last one is very dangerous, where the people like expiry, they can purchase expiry drugs in very cheap, very less cost, and they can relabel it with new dates. Okay, everything they will change it, and they will remove the existing dates, uh, the printing and all, and using some some kind of chemicals they will use, and they will remove the dates, expiry dates and all, and they will reprint on the same drug, and they will bring that into the market again. So this is going to be very dangerous. We will not be knowing, end user will not be knowing whether it is really a expiry drug or a new drug. So there is, as of now, there is no there is no system where the end user can track whether this drug is expired one or not. Okay, only by looking at the date, he can verify that whether it is expired or not. This kind of a dangerous things that we have in the current market. Okay, related to the drug counterfeit. So these are the different ways of having drug counterfeiting. Okay, and because of this drug counterfeit, we have some side effects like ill health, and another one is brand reputation at risk. Like if someone is changing logo slightly here and there, and people will think that this belongs to so and so company, so that brand reputation will go down. Okay, and lack of transparency is the same one. Someone like if end user don't know whether this drug is actually a expiry one or not, just by looking at the label, by printing the number, he can verify that this drug is expiry one or not. But there is other way to counterfeit it, right? And like by reprinting the dates and all. Okay, these are the some impacts that we have currently. And we'll see how blockchain will help. Means blockchain applications, blockchain can transform this existing business into to overcome these problems. Okay, and let's see. So what blockchain can do is, as soon as manufacturer, okay, when he created drugs, okay, some medicine, some batch, okay, he'll be having information like a SKU and batch information, everything. And what he can, the manufacturer can capture that information into blockchain network. Okay, he will add that and capture the information in the blockchain, and he will that will be supplied to some transport, some shipping company, and that shipping company will also be a part of the network, blockchain network. And they will update the transactions, like which route it has taken, and whether it has followed the standard procedure to ship that product, maybe like temperature and all. So they will keep in mind, and those information they will store it. And they can also, store the status of the drug, means whether it is damaged or it's a good condition, everything they can store it. And finally, when it reaches to the end user, so the end user can also, means like when it comes to the sales representative, and when where it exactly reaches, It is like the kind of which market, which hospital it has reaches, and uh, which customer or patient has received this prescribed this drug. Okay, so since everything is captured on the network, okay, and end user can easily go, and we can enable one kind of user interface where end user can just scan that drug, okay, some batch number something, um, so that he can verify when it has manufactured, who has transport this one, who is a shipping agent for this drug, okay, and how many days it has taken. All those information will be captured. If someone wants to remove that one, right, that particular SKU or something, it is very difficult since it is a very unique one at it, and someone has to find out which the same unique SKU which is already available in the blockchain, and then only he can modify the date and all. So that is since blockchain is a immutable one, so nobody can go. It's very hard to tamper. Okay, data tampering is very hard. So this way we can prevent like all drug counterfeiting. So this kind of applications means like this is one example that I'm talking about. If you're talking about any other industries, any use cases, the same thing we can do it. Like we can actually capture the information of any product, or if you're talking about a ticketing system or any education system, you can capture the certificate information. You can create a hash and put it on a blockchain, and then someone want to verify your certificate, you just give that key, share your public and private keys, and then they can verify your certificate with a hash. Okay, if that hash matches, and they can say that this is a verified and correct certificate. So like this we can implement blockchain blockchain solutions for any applications. Okay, and there are some additional benefits regarding to that previous use case, like since everything is captured on the blockchain and we have track of it, all the data is recorded. And some, for example, someone is using, so for example, if you take about uh, any product or any one time using kind of product, like if you are doing some cesarean and you need to use only one time some product, okay, and so you will not be knowing whether that is already used. The doctor or someone who is working may be using the same product for second patient or next patient, okay, and nobody knows that one if it is a so costly one. And they will hospital may be sending the bill to the directly to insurance provider. So insurance provider don't have the visibility whether this product is already used one or not. So that kind of the visibility insurance provider will not be having. So he will be losing so lots of money for the already used product. So if you have these products, everything is logged on and to the blockchain, captured on the blockchain. And as soon as some product is captured, and you are saying that this is a product that we have used, and the doctor who hospital admin enter this information into blockchain, and the end user or the insurance provider can verify that product. And second time when hospital admin are trying to provide enter the same product, so he will not be having means he cannot be able to do that one. So these are some additional benefits. So if you're talking deep, so many things are there which will actually help using this blockchain. Okay, so we'll talk more about hyperledger and hyperledger fabric. So this is about a use case that I've discussed about so far. And Hyperledger Fabric is one open source community, which is like there are around 30 plus companies has participated in this community, Hyperledger community. More than 200 developers are contributing. Dedicated developers are contributing. So some companies are like Intel, IBM. These are the few major companies are contributing to this open source community. So Hyperledger itself is having so many projects. One is like a Hyperledger Bisu, Hyperledger Bureau, and Hyperledger Fabric, Indie, Hero, and Sawtooth. These are the different projects as of now. The Hyperledger is having under the Hyperledger umbrella. And apart from that, there are few libraries and tools developed by same companies, same community. So this every project is having its own kind of future and its own kind of consensus mechanism, and architectural wise slightly changed. If you talk about indie project, indie is mostly concentrated in on like identity management systems. So if you talk about Sawtooth, it is kind of a seafood tracking system kind of a framework. It will help it out. Okay, today we'll discuss about this Hyperledger Fabric. Okay, Hyperledger Fabric is one project. It is major contributor is IBM, and this is widely used for enterprise applications. So this one is widely used for enterprise applications. So on high level architecture, if you see this diagram, so there are multiple participants in the network. Okay, if you see here like organization one, arg2, arg3, and arg4. So there are few organizations will come together and agree with some contract. Okay, these are some rules. They will agree with some rules. For suppose in the previous example, right? There is a manufacturer, there is a hospital, and there is a shipment agency, and there can be a monitoring authority like health ministry of India something. Okay, monitoring authority can be there. So these are different organizations can come together and form one network. Okay, every organization will have a number of peers according to their requirements. So they can have three peers or four peers like that. They can install. A peers is nothing but a kind of a system, also hardware and resources that they will be providing. So for suppose here organization one is having two peers, P1 and P2. Organization 2 is having P3 and P4, P5, and organization 3 is having P6 and P7 PS. Org 4 is having P8. So these are the peers, and these peers will have the different roles in the network to be participants to play. We'll discuss those roles. And if you see this channel is something which will provide privacy here. So you can create a number of channels according to this your network, your contract. Uh, so this channel is how it will work is like so if you see here, there are two lines, C1 and C2, red line and blue color and red color. So the blue color is connecting to the application A1 and A2, and red color is connecting to application A3. This means if three participants are there, P1, P2, and P3, and P1, P2 have visibility to only channel 1. Okay, and they may not be having visibility to channel 2. Okay, and channel 3 don't have the visibility what is happening with the P1 and P2. They will not be having. So this example, when it is useful, if you are selling some product, okay, if you are selling some product in some different countries, and so if you want to sell, you want to give the details of the product to everyone, saying that this is details of the product, okay, description, everything, and so that you will be putting that description, all the product details in one, manufacturing dates, everything in one channel, and you want to have a privacy with respect to price. Okay, you want to sell this for one country, you want to sell this so and so price, another country you want to sell for so and so price. So this pricing system you can kept it in a separate channel. So the whomever you want to show this price, and they will have, you just say that this is a channel you need to connect to, and then they will be connected to that channel, and this they will be having the visibility of this particular pricing. So this is where you will be having lots of privacy. Okay, and the roles that I was talking about, every peer, every organization can install different peers, and each peer can play different roles. Here we have different roles. One is like the endorser role, and another one is orderer and committer, different roles. So this is a flow, the transaction flow, how it will happen. There is a different layers of application. Okay, um, so there will be one UI application. Okay, there will be another SDK kind of application, backend application, and this backend application will connect to your blockchain network. Okay, so when someone sends, how actually a transaction will happen, right? When end user sends some request, and it will go to end user peers. So every organization can have they can dedicatedly have some kind of peers or OS for endorsing policies installed on their peers and chain code and endorse policies. So they can endorsers what they will do, they will take in request from input, okay, input request they will take, and they will take existing systems data, okay, whatever is available. So if someone wants to send for update request, so and so product, product A they want to update, okay, and they will take existing A product and take this product, and they will compare, and they will form something called read write set. Okay, they will form one read write set, and they will form one sort of block, and they will send it to client. Client will verify that one, and again they will submit that block, whatever the block end user is giving, they will submit it to the orderer. So orderer is going to be, again it can be the same peer. So the one peer can play different roles also, and or can have individual roles also. So it's according to our contract or network configuration and agreement with the other participants in the network. So endoser what will do is it will perform some kind of simulation, and it will have some logic, some kind of algorithm to pick up which transaction to put first, which one to be next. It's kind of a ordering it will perform. So as of now, the Hyperledger Fabric is more kind of modular, and you can pick different types of consensus mechanism and different types of orderings also. So as of now you have two types of orderings. One is solo, one other one is a Kafka. So this once this ordering is happen, there will be something called another peer or another role is committer. So it will be actually executing the transaction, your transaction to blockchain. So particular node it will be committed, and then there will be something called um, gossip protocol will fire, means like this will be informed to all other peers, every other peers into in the network. So everybody knows that everybody will have same copy of the data, and everything will be in sync. So this is on high level how actually this transaction flow will happen. Okay. So developing application in Hyperledger Fabric is fairly in a four-step process. There can be four phases, and installations is the one thing that we need to do first, and then network setup. This is a one-step process. You have to do it network setup by connecting to different by agreeing with a contract, okay, some kind of rules, endorsing policies or everything, and registering your IP addresses. So this is a one-step process that you have to do. And the second thing is chain code development. Chain code development is kind of a backend development that you have to develop your applications. As of now, this Hyperledger Fabric is providing three types of SDKs. One is Java, Node.js, and Golang. So any one of these languages you can use, you can develop your chain code. And then the last step, what you can do is like a DApp or UI application, which actually provides to the end user. Okay. So for suppose if you have four organizations are participating, or everybody has to deploy the same chain code, okay, on their peers, and they can have their own UIs. Okay, chain code can be same one. The chain code should be same for all organizations. This is where you will be having contracts, all agreements, and the DApps are the individual to their organizations. Organization can build their own UI to connect to this chain code, and whatever the information they want to fetch, or whatever the information they want to submit. So this is a four-step process that we have to do it. Okay. So I will just execute one example. I will show how to installation, where to get started if someone were really interested and want to experiment with this Hyperledger Fabric. So I will just show installation process prerequisites. So if you go to this Hyperledger Fabric, there is a site here. You can go. You can You can have prerequisites install. You need to install Git. Okay, it's a well described document that you have. Docker Compose you have to install, and this is a Golang that you have to install, and so Python, Node.js. So all these installations, once you install all these installations, and there is something called binaries, first network that you have to clone into your network. So installing samples binaries that you have to clone into from the Git, you have to clone into your local repository or local system. So it will provide by default base configurations, everything. By using that first network or base network, you can extend that network and you can create your own network. Okay, and these are kind of an installation process, and you can try it out. And so let me go here and so I have my once you clone this one fabric sample, you will be having folder like this one once you install and clone your project. Okay, and you will be having sample all sample network, everything available here. Some examples like a fabcar and some chain codes, all those things will be available. So this will be providing some basic network features. You will be extending, and whenever you are developing your own application, you will be extending few of the features from there here, kind of abstract things, and then you will be developing your own. Okay, and if you are developing your own applications and something like a certification network, something you have to have it in a parallel, or you can just set your path variables so that it will function smoothly. So I will just take you through this Fabcar application, how to execute, and so we'll see how. So if you are trying out with the Fabric, Hyperledger Fabric, and once you clone out, if you just want to execute sample network or test network, so there is something called first network. Okay, inside this you have chain code artifacts and base network, everything. And here is one Fabcar is one example that we have. And here there are different languages that they have built. One is Java, JavaScript, and TypeScript. Okay, you can choose any one of those languages and to execute. So I'm using this shell script which is provided already. Start Fabric. This is where it is written like how to start the network and get ready for everything. Okay, let me take you through this one. So the first time starting network will take a little longer time, so I don't want to waste your time. So I just already started this network by running this. So go into this Fabric samples, Fabric car. Okay, and just execute this command. Okay, start Fabric sh JavaScript. So this is what we have seen here. Okay, this start fabric.sh and shell script, and then I'm running JavaScript project here. Okay, once you run this one, it is bringing up the network and starting all those peers which are configured for this network. So this is actually a example network, is kind of a test network that I'm running on. So it is creating a Genesis block here. Okay, and then it is creating channel artifacts. So it is creating Argon MSPs. MSP is something like a membership provider. So a membership provider is something which will give you the credentials to log into the network. So every organization can have membership provider. Means like it can be like a CA can be like a outsider, or it can be Fabric provided one. So Fabric is a modular one. So it is having its own CA certification authority. Otherwise, you want to use a third party one, you can use third party certification authority for credentials. Okay. And so these networks, this peers, peer 1, and for organization 1, peer 0, and so organization 1 having two peers, peer 0 and peer 1. Organization org2 is having peer 1 and peer 0. So two peers, the total four peers for two organizations. One CLI node that we have, which is helping to connect to the all other nodes. Okay, where we'll be installing the chain code, and uh, it will help us to connect to the network. So we can use a CouchDB or LevelDB. LevelDB is by default to DB, or CouchDB for world state database. Okay, once you have everything started, and you will be seeing this started, and there will be some kind of integration testing will happen. You will see uh, all good kind of message. So once you have this one, so your network is started properly, and your chain code is installed. So all other commands are written in shell script. Okay, let's see. So once that network is started, and we can just go into this fab car, and JavaScript folder. Inside within this folder, we can just, okay, I already installed it. So once you do that npm install, and you will be having node modules installed, and you should be able to see all these applications. Okay, all these contracts. So when you say ls, you'll be seeing all this invoke function and query and user register and wallets. So wallets, initially you will see the empty wallet, and once you run this one, you enroll admin, enroll user, these two things, right, to create an user ID. So it's kind of it will connect to your membership provider, okay, CA server, and it will generate some kind of authentication, your public and private keys it will generate. Once it is generated, and it will be stored in your wallet. And so these are folders which you created, and you can just configure using this path variables. Okay, and I have created two users. One is admin, one is a user one. If you see here, I'm using two scripts. I will just open those scripts also. So enroll admin and register users, two scripts that I have, so that I have created two users. And then I'm executing one query, that is query.js, node query.js. So let me execute it again. So when we execute that one, it is connecting to the actual network, blockchain network, and getting the data. So so this is all cars information it is having. It is querying all cars. So I will update one of those information, and before that I will show where exactly it is available. So if you open this one in editor, and this is a for fabric samples one, and you will be having fab car here and chain codes. Okay, within this chain code you have different examples. One such example is fab card example, and you can choose any one of those languages. This is a contract. So this is the contract that will be deployed on all other peers. Okay, and this is the static data that already that I have already inside this contract. Okay, different cars and their information. And this is chain code. And then we have, this is actually UI application, we can say the end user a client application, where we'll be querying about this different this is for registering the admin information, admin user, and this is for querying the data. So when we query it, what is happening, it's connecting to the contract. um, so first it is getting the user. Okay, I'm using, so it is getting the identities from the wallet. Okay, and it is connecting to gateway, API gateway. And and it is connecting to specific smart contract. Okay, this is this contract that we have deployed. Fabcar is a contract, and this is connecting to the same contract, and it is connecting to channel. Okay, we are using for this example, this channel name is my channel, isn't channel name. And so once you have this contract connected to this end, and you can just use we can use the functions like evaluate a transaction is a function which will actually executing and getting all the results for us. So this is the query one that we have executed, and similarly we have other example, other application like other functions like updating. For suppose if you want to submit some transaction, if you want to submit new car, create new car, give the car ID and the manufacturer and the model and color of this one and owner of the car that you can give and log into that one. So what happens once you logged in this information one, so this information, this card information is called as a asset. Okay, once if you for suppose if you are having application like quicker or something, if you want to sell cars 24 or something like that one. So if someone are registering or selling those car their car on their network, okay, if they have some blockchain network, they can sell this car and they can register every information, status of the car, owner of the car, who is a first owner or second owner is so and so. And so first owner will have when it manufactured this kind of a version 0, and someone purchased version 1, and when someone first owner sold to second owner somewhere, okay, and that asset will have the second version. So and so versions it will have, and every information you will be stored on a world state, and then it will be stored on a blockchain network. We can query for all the versions from the blockchain network, and you can see whether who is the actual owner, who is the manufacturer. Okay, every status you can verify that one. So let's just execute one more transaction by updating in the owner name. I'm using Notepad. Okay, for car 4, for car 4, I am changing owner name as Khaja. Okay, if you go back and see who is the car owner for car 4, and Rina is the car owner of car 4. Okay, let's invoke this one. So I'm going to execute. So this is where I have executed, right? This is a um, invoke transaction. Let's execute that one and then we'll query that same one. Okay, transaction is submitted, and so it will be verifying this authentication and all. So since I already logged in, I have created a users here. So it is allowing me to perform this transaction. And let's go back and query this all cars. So we have updated car 4. So car 4 owner is this one. So if you want to query only car 4, and we can do that one. So instead of querying all cars, I'm going to query only car 4. So it will give you. Okay, and now it is giving me Carrefour details. So this owner name also updated to Casa. So this is how, this is just a very simple one which is already provided by Hyperledger Fabric to practice. And it is not having any UI. And if you have this application JavaScript application, then you can easily build your UI. Okay. So this is all about it. And any questions so far?
Hey, thank you for this informative session. I actually had two questions regarding the when you discussed about the enterprise use cases. So one where you mentioned that using this enterprise blockchain, like it will increase the cost, right?
Yeah. So when I say increase the cost, so here, right, and so everybody, for now, so there is a centralized kind of application who is only one system or one server somewhere, only one kind of resource will be there. And as of existing, if you take any medical supplier, online medicals stores and all, so you will be
Uh-huh.
having only application, one application. The relatively cost will be like simpler. So when it comes to the blockchain, so everybody should be having their own infrastructure built. Okay, it may be like a
Okay.
physical or cloud. So like for example, manufacturers should have their own infrastructure, like their own server deployed with a chain code. And the distributors should have their own kind of a chain code deployed infrastructure. And so this is where I was talking about the cost one. So you will be forced to use so many servers, like you will be deploying, you will be having a number of peers. So one organization having one peer may not be sufficient sometimes. Okay, one organization may have to deploy, put the resources, a number of peers, okay, according to their
Uh-huh.
requirements.
Yeah.
That is here I was talking about cost. Yeah.
Okay, and just to talk on that, like on top of that, my second question is, when we build, softwares and applications, a lot of work is and expenses are also related to all the licenses and distributions and compliances that we have to purchase and follow. So, in case of enterprise blockchain, is there a separate standard of licenses and compliances and everything that an organization or developers we need to purchase and follow something on those sorts?
And this is completely like a open source one. And see, this is a modularized one. So according to which component that you are going to use. For suppose if you are using CA, right? So certification provider. So if you are
Uh-huh.
using an inbuilt one, then you don't have to, means like a Fabric will be having a standard one according to like which version of a Fabric that you are using. So everybody will be using the same one. So if you are thinking to have a third party certification authority, so everybody has to follow their standards, whoever is providing. And similarly, like orderer services. Okay, order is like a Solo is a inbuilt one which is provided. Another one is like Kafka is a one. So it's up to, it's kind of, it is a fully modularized one. So when all the participants coming together, they have to decide uh, which component and which software, which component that they are going to use. So that is how you can achieve it.
Okay, understood. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah. So any other questions?
Hi, Khaja, I have a question regarding UI development into the enterprise blockchain.
Okay.
For like setting up UI, do we need to install some specific packages or specific frameworks on blockchain?
So for UI specifically, we don't require. Okay, you can develop according to your skill set or resources availability, and that too individual. Like if you are talking about this one, right? Every organization can have their own style of UI. Okay, and
Okay.
the chain code will be having a standard, like it means like as of now Hyperledger Fabric provides the SDK. Okay, this is a SDK application level. This provides three types of SDKs so far. One is Java SDK, and Node.js SDK, and then Golang SDK. So you have to use only those. But if you are using uh, like UI, pure UI, it's up to you. You can choose anything.
Okay. Okay. That answers my question.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay, Neelam. That's all for today. Yeah.
Thanks, team. I hope you had a good interactive session. If you still have any questions that you were not able to address, you can drop a mail to Kaja. He will be available and he'll be able to answer your questions personally as well. Thanks for joining the session. Have a nice day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for participants.
Thank you.